to be here as always. If you don't know who's in front of you with me, you haven't been here on Saturdays because Leslie is a Saturday Hour of Empower uh, colleague and wise, experienced individual who is generous enough to want to share with so many others. With that said, chat is open. Our word today is agreeable by popular demand, and wanted to really take that to the level of how do you apply it to where we are in time, which is the holidays. And then the bigger question, where do we want to be in 2024 going forward, which is another thing that's on everybody's minds or should be. With that, Leslie Flowers is here. We'll give Leslie the first shot at Agreeable after Leslie keeps us or brings us up to date on anything she feels is really important for us to know about. So with that, Leslie, say hello to this wonderful audience. This is for eternity. This will be playing who knows how many thousands of years from now. With that said,
well, we've got 3 people right now, so I'm happy.
No, you only see what you see. I see the whole picture behind the scenes. Not everybody shows up.
Okay, you have the 30,000 foot view, and I'm kind of on. I'm on sea level.
I'm digital.
All right. Well, good morning, afternoon, evening, good night, everybody. It's really been nice to know you, and we'll see you later. No. So agreeable. Well, for me, this early this year and in the next couple of weeks, I will be beginning my master's certification in achievement, which is my hybrid training program in achievement. So it's where I teach you everything I know about Think and Grow Rich, how to apply it, everything about goal setting, universal law. Pretty much it's a master's level training. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me and we'll have a chat on Zoom. Good morning, Omar. And so agreeable. Well, Don kind of threw me with this one, but I think for me, in terms of mindset, I set the context, my own context, right? I begin thinking about how I want to be objective and responsive before anybody walks in my house, before I go into a meeting, before I have an interview. So when we stop for just a minute in preparation for being with a group of people, whoever they are, I close my eyes and I think, okay, right? I set an intention to be agreeable, to be objective, to be responsive, to let people have their say, to not disagree, even if I know I'm right, right? Because I usually am. And now this takes something, depending on the group, because there may be people that are saying things. Well, okay, look at family and possible politics. Now, we won't talk about it, but it's a hot topic. So if you know your family is going to get into it, or this group is, then before you go in, you set the context, your own mindset, and you say, okay, today I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen for something new that I didn't know before. Mm-hmm. And what that does, Don, is it actually shuts down your point of view, your beliefs about it. Because you can't do both. You can't be critical and judgmental and have people do things based on your standards and ideals, and this is wrong, etc., and listen for something new. So if you intend to do it, to be agreeable, to be responsive, then you have your best chance at achieving it, and everybody benefits. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I had some thoughts, but now since you shared your thoughts, I've got some newer thoughts. Okay. So you'll have to trust me on the earlier thoughts. Okay. So these replace them. And what I thought was, how about if you look at yourself, especially in a group, and we're talking holidays because that's what comes to mind when holidays come together, people come together. Well, if you were the facilitator instead of the participant,
Mhm.
if your whole goal was to keep everything flowing, keep people as happy as you can, not get engaged in stuff that you don't know about and you're not going to know about,
Mhm.
uh, how much easier would that be when most people take it personal, right? They think of things in relationship to themselves instead of to the it, right? Is like, hey, if I'm here to make a party happier, then that's all I'm going to be focused on.
Mm.
That's what people will see. The other thing is when you look at agreeable, that's your hope when you go into any interaction, is when you leave it, everybody's more agreeable to each other, to what was said. You know, you're finding common ground when you're agreeing. Can we agree on this? Sure. Well, we agree on something. Can we agree on something else? Sometimes, how
Mhm.
much can we
Mhm.
agree on? Okay, for 60% of it, we're in the same boat. The other 40, we're in a different boat. But it doesn't mean 60 isn't better than nothing, right? And
True.
you found
True.
some agreement. I mean, that's where compromise comes in. Someone says, hey, I think you're getting more than me. And someone looks and says, okay, take some more and balance it out. And
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
agreeable. A
Mhm.
disagreeable
Mhm.
person will start to want to take things back or
Mhm.
away,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
they create a whole, chaos. If you go in the
Well, let
store
me.
and someone wants
I'm
a
sorry.
$5 refund and they start screaming, they're going to get that $5 so quick just
Mhm.
to get them out of there, right? And I'm saying is that's where you have bad characters, you have good characters, and what you agree on, you can disagree later on, but maybe
Well,
you can play through something. I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
stop
yeah.
on
Now
this.
that's a good point, but I don't see myself as a facilitator.
No, I
In
know
what you
that. I know that. But I'm talking about everybody in the audience.
what you're saying though
Hmm.
is really important. You are actually from and this is a good point. You are facilitating when you set your own context, when you're agreeable,
Hmm.
right? You don't have to actually do anything if you're being like the listener and agreeable, and that's a way of facilitating. So that you're not actually the facilitator, but imagine if everybody did that. So to your point, the facilitation of the energy, it's helpful if you know how to do this in a group. And to your point, then you get other people to begin listening. I don't even know if you really have to agree. Is agreeing really being agreeable? Actually, aren't they different? What do you think?
That's a good distinction. I
Well,
think that
you
if
inspired
your
it.
if your focus is the best you can do with who you're working with,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And most of the people, you don't even know them until you first meet them or talk to them, right? You could see someone's profile, you could hear about them, but until you have an interaction, do you really get to know someone for yourself? And you got to figure a lot of people don't know you. So they're at a disadvantage, right? Because if they knew you, they knew how to start with something, how to move to something,
Right, right.
how much time do you need to talk to get the point across? So I think that's where a lot of, let's say, facilitators set their rules based on the circumstances, and the rules are based on the expectation,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
So it's like, hey,
mhm.
I'm going to be walking into a room with a difficult person who I've always had issues with, right? And I know they haven't thought about changing, right? So they're going to probably be the same person that's been showing up all the time here, right? So what do I do different to get to an
Well, you could
agreeable?
start by not, okay, you could start by not expecting them to be that way. Because here's the thing, since we're on mindset, this is pretty interesting that you brought this up. So what you said was that they've always been difficult, and you have no indications that they've made any changes. So that's what is called in some circles as an already always way of thinking, that person doesn't have a chance to be anything different. Now, I want to give you an example. There's a very smart man that I meet every week with a group at 11:30 to 12:30 live once a week. And that's why I have to leave at 11:30 on Thursdays usually. Very smart group of people. This man has a Substack. He talks a lot about mindset, but it's interesting what happened with he and I. So I've noticed that in this group, they don't support other people. Oh, they have their favorites, right? But in general, they do not support that group. And we've been together for several years, few here and there, but no consistency at all. So he wrote something on Substack and I commented on it. He brought it into LinkedIn and I commented on it. And he didn't respond. Now, nobody responds. He's got no likes, no comments. I'm the only one. And he puts in a like, and that's it. Didn't respond to my thoughtfulness. We're in a thinkers group, right? And he couldn't respond to what I said. So anyway, then he wrote something else several weeks later, just a couple days ago. And I sent him a message. I said his name, because I'm not going to mention it. But I said, you know, if you would respond when I take the time to respond, you might find that this goes further, that more people see it, right? And here's what he wrote back to me. Dear Leslie, the last post I did, which was like 6 weeks or 2 months ago, I was confused by your comment. That wasn't the point. You did not understand my point, something like that. And so I left a like. Now, I responded to him, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because this is an example of already always thinking. Because he was confused the last time, confusion is a racket. It's an excuse not to be responsible. And here's a person who is smart and a writer and wants to be known as a writer and doesn't, and because he's confused. Now, anytime I comment or he writes something, he's going to assume, right, that I'm going to be a certain.
But he's identifying himself directly, taking the time to do that on purpose to share whatever it was that created whatever it was. But here's
right, but the point. My point is that you did the same thing. We all do this. We expect people to continue being the crappy way or the good way that they are, which gives them no space to do anything differently. So how could the person change if
here's the point. At a certain point, you don't want them to change. You don't care if they change, because here's what I see. If we look at the bigger picture, where everything is everything, right? And at that point, everything fits. The mission, the goal, where are you? I mean, we're talking about 2024. Where are you seeing yourself next year, right? Mm-hmm. And what do you plan to do to get there? Or how do you get there, right? You might already have had the vehicle and you're just riding it again, right? So it's not a reconstruction from day one. It's an optimization of whatever you learned over the year and what you want to unlearn or disassociate with or redirect. So here's what I see.
How does this relate to what we were talking about?
It's coming. You caught it at the 45% mark.
Okay, come on.
Here's where it swings back and even deeper into what our conversation is to do everything we're doing is going to involve people, because this is a social media, this is a communication channel, this is a relationship oriented channel, right? So you're going to identify people as either play with or play through, because you need to keep moving forward. And here's
judging. That is judging a person.
No, it's not judging. It's not judging.
Well,
It's
what
not
would you
even
call it?
close. Here what it is. Here's what it is. You're giving me the best questions to redirect my answers. Is everything is an investment, okay, of time, thought,
Yes.
effort. You're always investing. And some things are cost that you have to pay, and they're not investments, right? When you pay your gas bill, you're not getting anything in the future. That money is gone, right? If you buy stocks or you buy property or who knows, whatever you buy, that's an investment. People are just like that, but better, because if you invest in them, you have no idea what you could get back, assuming there's something there and there's somebody who understands collaboration, reciprocal, mutual benefits, going last sometimes, being the better person most of the time. That's where agreeable comes in. And there's other people that are obstacles, that are challenging. You know what I mean? And they could be people you don't even know, they come in your life, strangers, right? People who send you comments. I mean, it could be anybody. It's the world. It's a billion people. Anything could happen. So with that said, you make decisions. How do I get through or with this person so I keep getting to my goal? And some people say, just pay the person, just be done with it, right?
No,
Somebody's giving you a
I
hard
get
time.
what you're saying. We have a choice
And you're
of
always
who.
making judgments, but the thing is, you just want to be overall right. The black and white issues already been decided. It's where it gets gray or opaque that you can make a misjudgment, where you don't have enough information, enough time. Someone says, hey, you got to tell me right now, right? Without
I'm
thinking about
feeling disagreeable. I'm not feeling agreeable right now.
it. Yeah, because this is what is.
Okay,
But
but these are
anyway,
two different things.
okay,
Okay, I get
let
you.
me get to some of our audience, because
Okay.
I'm sure you'll get agreeable shortly. It'll come back. Carl's here. Good morning, Leslie and Don. It always
Hey,
takes
Carl.
Carl's smile and greeting to get us back on the agreeable side. Omar's here. Omar created a wonderful quiz show that me and Leslie were co-starring in. Happy Saturdays to the Comedy Hour or Empower. That's a good one. You must be listening to Dennis. Okay, and here is Dennis. Haven't seen you a couple days. I hope you had a wonderful celebration with your family. Agree. Get folks and family to agree not to disagree, but to listen, to learn something new. And once in a while, take somebody that you don't get along with too well and give them a compliment in front of everybody, if it's a true compliment, right? And it could be just, thanks for bringing that beautiful cake today. I want to take some time to share that with everybody. I think that goes a long way. Maybe the person says, hey, they put out an olive branch. Agree, whichever boat you're in, you will want to stay afloat. And thanks for sharing, caring about that helpful note. That's a triple. It's almost like gymnastics when Dennis goes into the third rhyme. Happy New Year, beautiful people. Haven't seen you, Elizabeth. Hope all's well. Hope 2024 is good for you and everybody else in the audience. Saying hello from Scottsdale. Well, in December, Scottsdale's a pretty good place to be. Dennis comes back. People who don't want to change their issues often make us need tissue. Hey, that's a good one.
He's stretching it, Dennis. You're really
Yeah,
putting
well, it is the weekend. You get out of your everyday element. And so Leslie, getting back to agreeable. Somebody says, give Leslie another second. Randy's here. Okay, this old boy is late. Hello, Donald and Leslie. Never too late, especially for agreeable. I'm finding this to be one of the most important subjects we've talked about. So Leslie,
so
how do you deal with people on the other side who are totally agreeable, that make you totally relaxed and comfortable as soon as you meet them? How does that change your mindset?
Well, I want to go back and finish this convoluted distinction between choosing who you're going to spend your time with and
No, no,
investing,
not
which
choosing, but determining what you want to invest in.
fine, that's semantics. But what I was saying was something different. What I
Well,
was talking about is our already always way and not giving people a chance to be played through, which you brought up a little bit ago. Why not give someone else a chance? Maybe that person needs that compliment. So we have a judgment about people. We all do. We either like to work with them or we don't. When you're being agreeable and you're setting the context in advance, you are willing to listen to everybody. It isn't about winning. It
no,
isn't
no.
about get.
Yeah, but who said winning? We didn't say winning.
It's about being right and compare and getting other people to agree and this agree disagree.
No, no,
You
no.
know,
We don't care if other people agree.
okay, well, let's just move on.
I was there before we. Okay. So, anyways, the question was, how does someone who's extremely agreeable when you first meet them affect your mindset and your agreeability?
It matches mine. It attracts that in me. Back to the point of when you're with a lot of people, it's really who you're being. It's the context you've set. It's what you're thinking about. What are you listening for that affects the energy in the room? Right.
Good,
So I
good, good,
don't
good
know that
question.
other people have any impact really. It's nice when it's the same. There's a
Yeah, but
resonance.
here's the thing that I think turns the tide of this discussion is how does somebody feel or demonstrate that feeling after you've had an opportunity to interact with them, right? If the person you leave is better than they were when you first said hello to them, obviously it worked.
Yeah.
Whatever you provided for them was what they needed, or at least what they demonstrated. And that's like serving people, right? You never think of, hey, don't take another piece of roast beef, right? You're always serving it up. Like, here, take some more. We got plenty. Can't eat this, don't worry about it. Take it home, whatever it is. But when it comes to giving kind words, people are a little bit, chintzy, you know?
Yes, and acknowledgement is really important. I've found that people don't get enough of it, to the point of complimenting someone. Make sure it's authentic, and because if you don't believe it, you're simply not walking your walk. But look, we're on mindset here, so we went way too deep. All I'm trying to say here is give people an opportunity to show you their best side. And if you walk in expecting them to be the difficult person, they don't have a chance because you've already created who
Well,
they
yeah,
are.
yeah, but again, it's conditional where you're right to a point. And the point is that when people show something different, then you change your opinion, right?
Well, which comes first? Is it up to us to open the space for them to
Well,
be who
I,
they
I
are,
I
or
think
is it up to them?
I think subconsciously in your mind, you're calculating what you're going to see based on what you've seen or what you
That's
believe,
right.
right?
That's right.
So if you say, hey, Uncle Joe is the happiest, funniest guy, we're going to have a great time with him, right? You're probably inclined to have that unless he changed, right? Because, and he probably knows everybody's looking forward to it. I mean, that's the thing about families. People are known for certain things, good and bad. And people kind of know who they're dealing with after a while, where it's not a surprise anymore. And what the key is if you're hoping them to change and evolve since when, how are you showing you've changed and evolved since then?
This
Right?
was the whole
So,
point. Is that's the whole point. Absolutely. If you, well, I think we should change the subject
yeah,
because you
let's
and
go.
I
Where do you
disagree.
want to go? What subject?
And mindset happens to be my area. So all this, all everybody has points of view. All I am saying is something very simple. Give people space to be different than what you know them.
Yeah, and
Walk in,
if
set the context, walk in, do not be judgmental, do not expect someone to be a horse's ass, even though they always have.
you're always thinking the negative about the people.
No, that's not negative. It's not
Uh,
negative. It's mindset. So let's pick another subject.
okay, you pick it.
Well, let's
Uh-huh.
talk. Okay, listen, Donald.
Mindset. Let's talk about mindset.
That's what we started talking about.
Yeah. Well,
Was the
let me get
content.
some more comments while we're
Okay.
thinking. Randy says, and to cover, saying hello to everyone in the room. Hello, friends, foes, and relatives. Well, hello, that covers everybody. Carl Dakin says, I often find myself taking a position with which people disagree. I find many of them simply wanting to keep things as they are when I think I want things to change.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with disagreeing because it adds a little bit of conflict and friction to make you rethink your position
Mhm.
and validate it, or maybe move a little, right? If someone says, hey, I think your soup's too salty, right? And you think it's just fine, you'll understand that. Some people have different tastes, and that's where you become agreeable. So yeah, I can appreciate next time I won't put so much in, right? Who cares? Carl then comes back with, Leslie, I can't afford to listen to everybody. Not only will it take too much time, it becomes an obstacle to moving forward. I agree with Carl. And the reason I agree with Carl is you win some and you lose some. Some get caught in the shuffle. Some get thrown out. The baby gets thrown out with the bathwater. Take LinkedIn, for example. If you spent every minute responding to everybody, you'd have no time to get nothing done, right? If you answered every comment, if you looked at every notification, I see it every day. So you got to make a determination. You got to segment and say, here are the 6 people or 10 people I am working with. Here's people I'm getting to know. Maybe something may happen. And then here's people that I got no interest because I got 37,000 connections. Only 12,000 are in the USA. And without judging, there's like 20,000 that I will never, ever work with because of time change, culture, you name it. And why would you go around the world when you got people across the street that you're working with? So I think the key is some people include too many people who are disagreeable to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I always say, get a good person, then you can make a relationship. So Leslie, we're on a much
So
better.
this thing about what Carl is saying, of course, I'm not sure why it's addressed to me. Certainly, nobody can.
Leslie, it's not personal.
Okay, I can't afford to listen to everybody. You're right. Nobody can. You have to make selections, but you also have to be aware that people do deserve a chance to play through with you.
Everybody does, and that's why an open mind is very important. A welcoming, safe mind is important. When things change, tell me, right? That's how you usually end on things that aren't agreed upon, right? I don't have the money yet. Call me in 2 months, or figure a better way and let's do it. And I think at that point, it's not black or white, agree or disagree. We agree on 80%, and there's 20% that we can't get arms around. And eventually it'll show into who wants to adjust.
Randy has a comment. Maybe this will be more clear.
Okay, Randy, thank you. But can't being too agreeable somewhat limiting in learning and cause you to have limited boundaries? Well, you're so right, Randy, and here's why. Every word is just a bunch of letters until you build context and application. And semantics plays a big role, right? some people hear a word, they think this, other people hear the same word, they think that, and some words no one understands. And there's some words that are specific, right? If I say carrot, everybody's going to see the same thing, but they'll also feel differently about that carrot. Some will like it, and some hate carrots for whatever reason. And I think the key is how do you factor that into everything you're thinking, right? Because you don't judge on, is this an agreeable person? Everybody has their challenges, and everybody has some upside if you can look deep enough and you're willing to get to know the person well enough to see something there. But you wonder why. Because if it takes you so long to see it, how long is it going to take you to see it again? I mean, and here's one way of looking at it. How many times you're talking to somebody, it's 5 minutes and they still don't know what you're talking about. And another person, you could tell them 3 words and they're right there with you. And you say to yourself, I don't have 5 minutes every time I got to say something to explain it. So, here's another thing. And, it's all about how you can deal with it in your own way. Is some people are just, they're there for a certain purpose, for a certain time, and you determine what purpose they may continue to be part of your life and in what role and what time. And if you're really looking to choose who can allow you to be the best you can and in turn help other people, are they going to be a good conduit for that? And I think that's where people fall off, because most people aren't dependable. Most people aren't trustworthy. Most people are short term, and they disqualify themselves because just by LinkedIn, there's 1 billion people here registered. Someone filled something out. Only 18% do anything in a week. But what's interesting, and I used to think 82%, 82% didn't do anything, but they're 80% of people who buy everything, and you never see or hear them. So anyways, it looks like we're coming around on almost a little bit over half of the show. And looks like we've had quite a bit of discussion relative to Agreeable. Love to hear what the audience has to say. And, if you apply it to the holidays, what did you do this year to make the celebration a little bit better and a little bit happier for everybody involved? And how do you take that going forward and apply it to maybe relationships in 2024? So Linda's here. Linda has a large comment. Morning all, had a visitation, so coming in late. Agreeable is an interesting word, and you see many things in news, conversations, or in our own thoughts. But looking really at the truth from both sides can help give us information to choose from. But having the people in life getting you to look at things in different ways will help you be a more open-minded way. I think that is so wise and valuable. And I think it's comprehensive, right? Because it kind of deals with the getting along with people, but also trying to facilitate a better situation for everybody, right? So, Leslie, you're a giving person. How did you treat your holidays this year? And, what benefit did you see coming from that?
Well, my holidays this year are still undergone, or still doing them, and they've been wonderful. They're exhausting and wonderful, and but what I want to bring into the new year is more of who I've been this year.
Mm-hmm.
So this year, my word was kindness, and pretty much everything I've done the whole year is kindness, including the holidays, right? Making sure people are comfortable, they have what they need, right? They're not missing anything, because I have a lot to give. And so I want to do more of that next year. Or, that's going to be, I don't know what my word will be next year. But I really love to see people flourish and see them grow. In my audio rooms, I've noticed that there are people who have been there consistently, and then Think and Grow Rich, that are consistently growing and changing and using the information. And I love watching people grow that way. So I want to do more of that next year, right? That's pretty much it for me. And we'll do New Year's Day brunch, which we do every year to kick off the new year. And I know that this year is going to be even better. Even with all the stuff going on, stuff is always going on. There are good things and there are not so good things. It's really, where do I want to invest my time? Where do I want to serve others? Right. And then my gifts come back from unexpected sources. So let me give you this one quote. This might inspire you or others. It's my favorite quote of all time. If one advances confidently in the direction of their dreams and endeavors to live the life they've imagined, they will meet with success in hours uncommon. That's the row. And that basically is letting us know that if we advance confidently, if we simply just move our feet, we don't have to leap in the direction of our dreams, right? Toward that way, and endeavor to live the life you've imagined. Try, make an attempt, then you'll meet with success in hours uncommon. Success comes from unexpected sources. So your real wealth, whether it's money or it's richness with other people, whatever it is not coming from your job. It's not coming from where you expected. Big money isn't going to come from the hours that you trade. It's going to come from a person who shows up, who's your next partner. It's going to come from an unexpected source that you sourced. So I love that quote. And that is what has kept me going all year. And I'll use it next year. So
So
there's a
what do you
list.
plan on adjusting for next year that you learned this year to accelerate or expand your reach or influence?
I don't know. I've invested in myself, and that's one thing I would, in as far as work that needs to be done in my business. I teach that that it's advisable to invest, that we always receive a match or more than what we've invested, even if we're a little tense about investing. It always turns out to match the investment or even better, right? That's what I've discovered. So I've invested funds, which I haven't done in a while. But if I ask people to invest in working with me, then I also have to do that. So that's one thing I've done, right? And that I will continue to do, which I haven't been very good at this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I'll do it again next year when my book comes out. I'm going to invest in my fiction book. It's the first one. I have 10 books, but this is the only fiction. But I want it further than just a book that anybody can self-publish, right? I want it to go to streaming services, etc. That's going to require an investment. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the difference for me, is that to let go of cash, to invest it in myself, to get it circulating, and to be who I say I am. I want you to invest in me, then I have to invest in others. It doesn't work when only one side.
Absolutely. I mean, that's circulation,
Yeah.
right?
So that's what I'm going to do.
Well, I applaud you for investing, because investment in yourself is the best investment, because that's the only thing you got total control over, right? Buy Google stock and all you can do is sit on the sidelines. You don't have any influence, not for
That's right.
the kind of money one would put in. Uh, and why trust somebody with your future when you can create your own future And when you invest, you work harder for that investment than it works for you. And that's how it works for you. Because you can
Yes.
put some thought, you can put some time, you can modify, you can optimize. I mean, I'm always playing with my profile. I'm always adjusting my post. I'm always changing this program. It's not easy to see every day what changes. Just like if you're raising kids, you don't see them grow every day. But if you visit every 6 months, you can see, wow, how much taller they got, or whatever, because it's been 6 months.
Why do you
So,
do that? What do you do that? What is the yield? So when you tweak it every day or you change it, are you also monitoring results, views based on profile views as a one day as opposed to another based on the tweak you made? Or why do you
and
do
that's
that?
a good question. But what I learned, it's an excellent question, in relationship to understanding a number, not
Mhm,
all numbers are the same,
mhm, mhm.
right? One connection could be worth 20,000 who don't do anything. So the point is, what I look at is how aligned am I communicating everywhere I'm communicating. So if I'm posting this, my profile is showing that. My background picture changes every day. My profile changes every day. A lot of times it's an emoji. It's not a tear it apart, put it together. It's like, well, I found a better picture. I mean, my background was specialty retailing until I got into e-commerce and marketplaces.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
when you start your own store and you got no money and you got nothing, every little thing means something. So you adjust a display, you make up a new sign, right?
Mm.
You're always, when someone leaves the store, you're always going back and organizing and, cleaning.
So
So,
that's what you're doing with your profile then. It's
well,
kind of the
everything.
same kind of thing.
Yeah, it's intuitive. It's like clothes, you put them on every day, and some things make you comfortable, and then other things you look at, and sometimes it is tomato tomato. It didn't matter whether it was an exclamation point or a period, a capital letter, but you're conscious of it. You're infused in it.
Mhm,
It
mhm.
becomes symbiotic with you.
So you're not looking at you're not
Well,
looking
I
at the
am, and the
figures.
results are fantastic.
Okay.
I look at the results every day.
Okay.
This last week, I got 23,000 impressions. My impressions over a year ago are up 5,000%. And I'm spending less time than ever doing more than ever, because
Mhm,
you just dial it in and you do it
mhm,
when what
mhm.
works. And sometimes you got to let it work, and sometimes you got to let it go. I got rid of 60% of this audience that I once had, but it wasn't a relevant audience. It was just a party. So you're better off with people who are like minded, are here to work, here to grow, here to change, and more importantly, want to help each other, and understand they're helping themselves more by doing that than grabbing and going and taking what they can and not investing. Because how do you have high aspirations with no interest or confidence in investing your time or resources in it? I mean, you got to be straight with yourself. If you want something, you got to invest something if it's going to last. The other point I want to make is what you do duplicates through other people, right? So if you're the model of what you want other people to be that before you expect them to be that, or help them get there. Right? I think that's the benefit. Catherine's here. Missed you on Saturday, Catherine. You're the counterweight. Uh, so here to wish you both and all a beautiful New Year. You too, Catherine. So pleased and honored to have you with Leslie on our Saturday chit chats. And I know you and Leslie are working on some events and projects. So I think that's important too. Is being a super connector, being a matchmaker, taking people who may not have met each other or met each other under those circumstances and introducing people. And that's, I think, is a great thing about live streaming is you get to meet somebody for the first time in front of everybody, right? And get to know who they are, and they get to know who you are, and you never even had to make an appointment. And I see what's going to happen next year is there's going to be more strategic pairings. I think we've crossed the boundary or wherever where this is open and inviting to so many more people than a year ago, right? I mean, had a great guest yesterday, a friend of mine, Mary. I guess you commented on that, Leslie. Do you know Mary?
Yeah, very well.
Oh,
She and
good.
I, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm saying is we're getting more and more people with more and more specialty interest, more interest in doing things with other people. Because here's what I learned over the last year too: you want to be with the doers, not the talkers, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want people who are taking action, who are creating things, developing things, producing things. That's where I think everything can go. Randy says, holds out hands. I will participate in circulation. I don't quite understand, but that's cool. And with that, Leslie.
Randy asked what was on the menu for brunch.
Okay. Well, I did
mean,
share.
that's really, really important, Donald. This is
I want to hear.
Okay. So the Paula Deen's French toast casserole. Loaded with butter. Paula Deen's French toast casserole.
Oh, Paula Deen's.
Once a year, an extra stick of butter, right, with real maple syrup.
Okay, so we're talking
and then all the rest, eggs, bagels with smoked salmon, cream cheese, capers, onions, and scrambled eggs, and lots of bacon and sausage, and maybe some black-eyed peas to bring in the new year. So it'll be good. There won't be anything left, I don't think, Randy. But if you want to come over, there's a seat for you. I'm in North Carolina.
Good for you. See, so it's going to be Paula Deen's
French toast casserole. Oh, it's terribly decadent because
just full of
heavy whipping cream.
So what part of it isn't that? It's all that.
It's all that pecans.
Oh, that's good.
Sugar and French bread, and you slice the French bread up, put it in a lasagna pan, and cover it with this liquid of eggs and cream and cinnamon and all that, and leave it overnight so the bread soaks up all that goodness, and then you bake it right in on top. It's so good. We only do it once a year because it's our specialty.
Yeah.
And then all the other stuff, coffee, and we'll have some mimosas too.
Okay, so fun for all around, huh?
So Randy, are you coming over? I got to see where Randy lives so I can see if he's really going to come. Let me see where he is.
Where does Randy live?
I'm looking right now. Oh, hell, he's in Wilmington, North Carolina. Okay, Randy, it'll take you about an hour to get here. It's 11 on Monday. I'll send you the address.
Yeah, have a mimosa, take a picture, post it on LinkedIn, and just say this is one of the biggest benefits of 2023. Paula Deen's
French toast casserole. Oh, everybody knows who Paula Deen is. I mean, she's a controversial. You don't? Okay, she's a Southern.
Yeah, I know she got kicked off the show.
Yes.
And then she lost like 100 pounds and everything else.
Yeah, but she probably had the extra 100 pounds because of all the damn butter in every one of her recipes.
Yeah, you see these cooks like Emerald Lagasse. I mean, you can't help. I mean, they just eat everything they cook. And then they share it. They're always cooking. They're always eating. But there are some slim cooks, I'm sure, out there.
So what's your word for this year, Donald, 2024? If you had to pick one word that all year long it'll be top of mind, and it is one that you really resonate with, and it will make you a better person, what would your word be? And the audience too, what's your word for next year? We're not going to hold you to it, But see what if you already have picked
I'd
one out.
say anticipation or excitement. I do believe that everything that we and I have learned over the last 500 episodes
Yeah.
now has gained a clear path to unbelievable success. And I don't say that lightly because all the foundation, all the ingredients are in place. Because I thought to myself, I really haven't done very much at all at monetizing. And I asked myself why, because my whole background in business was generating a lot of revenue and making a lot of money. And I said, look at how many people I didn't have to work with that I'm no longer associated with, right? People that you met and you thought, and then they turned out not to be able to grow as fast. Not that anyone went bad. Nobody wanted to accelerate. No one wanted to stick with it. Everything was a new shining object and buying a lottery ticket.
Too many people. That is the problem. I would recommend that you invest heavily in my program. That'll balance things out, Donald. You'll work with me for an hour every week, and I'll teach you everything I know. You'll feel much better because it's thousands of dollars. And so, therefore, you will attract more money into your life. What do you think about that?
No, I think everybody should be looking around to say, if I got a coupon, let's look at it this way.
Yeah.
If someone sent you a coupon that you can apply to anybody's services that which you could get at no cost, but you would have to choose who it is and what it is, then the question becomes, hey, you identify it as being valuable. You choose to want to commit time with and to that person, right? So it's only because you didn't want to afford it or you didn't think it was worth it that you didn't. So where between zero and where they are you truly? Right? And then why is it that? So let's just give you an example. Someone charges $1,000 for a program. And if you got a coupon for free and you really wanted to take the program, you like the person, you would cash it in and you'd feel like, hey, I got a benefit here. But that's probably not going to happen. So now you've got, why do you want to be with that person? And what do you think you can receive from that person? And if you work backward from benefit and from value versus forward from risk of your money or your time, you're never going to go anywhere. And what you're going to do is be safe in where you're at if you're lucky, because the world's not going to wait for you and things are going to change. And those people who are smart enough to invest in themselves and others will get the leg up that you could have. And, again, a year just went by. What I found about years going by, they go faster every year you get, right? When you're 20, 25, you can play around, you can look at a bunch of stuff. And, that's what you're meant to do, is experience. When you get older, you got to be careful with your time, right? With your energy, with who you invest with. But you also have to even make more investments because of that, right? Where you want more support. You want someone to carry some of the load, so you outsource some things. I mean, and that's where I think people have to start thinking strategically. Like, I need to have this to get here, right? You wouldn't go on a trip that took a whole full tank of gas and put a quarter tank in and not think that something may not happen the way you hope it to. And I think that's why another person could set you up with the provisions necessary for the mindset necessary, and maybe make the difference between a full, enjoyable life and a life of distress and disappointment and regret. How many times does someone come along with a helping hand and you say, I can handle it, and you can't, and you don't. But you continue to refuse that. Go ahead, Leslie.
Well, I was thinking about when I first started working with women in business in 2013, I realized that they knew nothing about business, about principles of success. They had none of the talent or the skills in business, but they had different skills from running homes. And so I realized that that they were missing um, certain skills. And one of the things that women seem to be um, less able to manage, to your point, is we're so used to doing everything ourselves and managing a whole household. When someone says, let me help you with that, women tend to say, no problem, I got that. And it's the contribution of other people where those miracles come, where those unexpected results are. But we're so used to our automatic response, our automatic, already, always way of thinking is, I got this. But, and you may have it. However, you're standing in the way of someone else contributing to you. Also, you could consider that the reason they're there is because the universe sent them to you to achieve what you want based on who you are and what you want and how you're feeling about it. And so it's really important to accept contribution even if you don't need it sometimes. It lets the other person feel good about contributing. And who knows, you may learn something new, right, that you needed or wanted or hadn't thought of before. So I think contribution is powerful. And I find that women are less willing, but they're getting better at it. It's really important, and it's because we've been doing things a certain way. I don't know about men how they are, but I suspect if in business, if someone said, hey Don, let me help you with that, we got to get these out the door, let me give you a hand, you'd say, sure, come on in, let's do it, right? Thank you very much. But a woman may be different and say, no problem, I'll take care of it, you go on, because that's our nature. So there's something to be learned, but I do love that. Oh, Randy's got his thumbs up. So Randy, you're about an hour from me. I'm in Fuquay, you're in Wilmington. Hop on I-40 and you'll be here by 11 if you leave at 10.
So what is your family going to think when Randy shows up?
I'm going to say that he's my former husband.
Okay. Somebody
Or
that,
this is I'm going to tell him this is a secret husband I had. Nobody knew about.
oh no,
And
see,
wait till you meet our kids.
yeah, Randy, you might want to take home.
Man, look what Carl said. This is a good
Okay,
point.
men can be worse. It's macho to say I can handle it. And here's the thing,
Good
and
point.
I agree with both of you, and I'm agreeable to the
Oh,
end.
yeah, good.
It is,
I'm seeing you
but
change.
if everybody believes being that way is challenging to yourself and your opportunities, if you can act the opposite way, wouldn't that be a competitive advantage? So,
Yes.
I'm always like, hey, let's all do this. I'm always grabbing people. I'm never like, I try to do what anybody can't or won't do to make it happen. So it's like, hey, you're stronger, you lift that. You're here, you take care of that. But I've been in a position where I've been the owner, CEO. I've never had to say, I've hired people, I've mentored people to make them stronger by giving them more responsibility, by giving them more accountability. And I think that's why a lot of families don't do well, is because kids got spoiled, didn't have to do certain chores, didn't have to be responsible. And then they grow up in a world that treats them even worse. And I think that's the key. And plus, it's more fun to join in. When I was growing up, we didn't have dishwashers. So it used to be at the end of a big party, the men would go off to watch football or do whatever they did. And the women would hang around and somebody would say, I'll wash and you dry. And it'd be like for 20 minutes, they'd just be shooting a breeze, right?
Well,
Catching.
let me tell you what happened Christmas Eve at our dinner. To your point, actually, this is kind of unusual. Um, we were all sitting around the table. There were 13 people, and I was exhausted, obviously, right? And my son got up and started clearing the dishes and loaded the dishwasher. And his wife and my daughter said, oh my God, because we had never seen them do that. But, my son saw like the spread and what it took, what it really takes. And I'm not getting younger. And so it was really kind of out of character to have him jump up and, clear and rinse and do all that and get the dishwasher all loaded before the rest of us got up. That was the kindest thing anybody could do for me. And his wife said, what kind of help do you want on Monday? I said, when it's all over, if you'll just put everything away, I'll be happy. Right. By that time, I'm done. I don't want to clean anything up. I don't want to do anything else but sit back and just enjoy the family. So,
Well, that's
and this year
beautiful.
we'll have Randy this year.
Yeah, and your son, was able to project that to everybody around the table, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe change their attitude towards jumping in a little here and it's just the little things, right?
Yeah. It was big for me. I mean, 'cause that makes it relative, really.
Yeah, but
It's
everybody
relative.
could have done what your son did if
But
they chose
yeah.
to do it, and they could find something else to maybe make life a little easier.
They
And then
did.
they feel,
Everybody helped. It was just like this. It's to the point of the role of men, right? He wasn't worried about being macho. He was my son who, when he was 16, and even then when he was sick, he'd crawl into bed next to me when he was sick as a dog, right? Because that was mama's arms,
no,
right?
and
It
it
didn't.
does demonstrate he's thinking about you and looking out for you
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
making easier things for you. And you say, well, hey, it's starting to really project, because
Yeah.
then he's probably thinking about another person he might be coming in contact with and taking that extra effort to make life a little easier or show he cares.
And
And
my
I
grandson saw that, my daughter's son. So he came in, they brought their dishes in, and he also observed what was happening. So it's the small things like that. I think small steps will make a difference. I mean, I just can't tell you how much it meant to know that at the end, after all the effort, time, money, exhaustion, and all of that, it's harder each year for me to do this. And it's like the best gift of all,
Well, for sure.
right?
You got memories and they got memories and people ate well. I mean, so it went to your family, all this. So it's not like, you made it and never saw it again. So anyways, it's past our bedtime here. So thank you so much for coming today. It's
Yes.
always an interesting and
Happy
exciting.
New Year, everybody. Happy New Year.
Right. Happy New Year. More importantly, healthy New Year to everybody. Enjoy what you have and who you have. And let's all hope a year from now we could be on this show thinking back of where we were now and how surprisingly successful we are at everything we choose to do in the coming year. And not only that, knowing you've got a tailwind and a community here that you didn't have a year ago.
That's right.
And I've only gotten smarter and better for everybody's influence, little, sometimes big. But like Leslie says, someone takes an action could change the tide of someone's momentum, of someone's confidence. And, I think the other thing we try to have is fun, right? Because
Yeah.
you can have that in the moment with the people you have while you're waiting for success. Elizabeth says, Happy New Year. All, thank you for your support of 2023. And, I think what Leslie alluded to and what we're talking about in the coming year is extending your family in a most beneficial way. Randy might be able to be reporting back on maybe the Monday casserole.
Listen, he said, don't think that I won't take that drive, Leslie.
Okay,
I
well,
mean, I don't know what I'm going to say to my family when he shows up, other than I'm getting married again, and here he is, Randy. And my ex-husband will be there, so that'll be interesting.
As I explained in greater detail the Paula Deen recipe.
Yes.
Randy heard it, said he wouldn't sleep another night until he got a chance to taste it in person. and he's going to drive 100 and some miles.
It is about 90 miles, I think. Well, now wait a minute. It's about an hour to Wilmington. So on 40, it's about an hour.
Yeah, and an hour back, I would think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's 2 hours plus gas
That's right.
and his driving ability. So it's going to be worth it. I would drive 2 hours to meet somebody's family, eat their food, and you never know what you don't know. Linda finalizes this show with Happy New Year, everyone. Looking forward to more days with y'all and the moving discussions and more to come as we grow our circle of life for sure. I think what we hope to show is better ways of dealing with situations and people that help you and help them along the way. Everything you do for someone else, you're doing for you also, and you can take credit for moving that ripple effect that we talk about forward. So anyways, Randy, can't wait to hear your report. Tell us everything about it. Maybe film yourself eating the first bite of the casserole. With that said, take care. Love you all and see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Kelly, Charles, and me. And Monday is Kelly, Charles, and me. Charles only here for a short window in Canada, so he doesn't have the opportunity year round to be here. So with that, happy.